Good evening, I'm Jeff Frent, and welcome to Loyd Hall, a working plantation over 180 years old, located on a remote bayou in Louisiana. Loyd Hall has a long legacy of espionage, war, murder, unrequited love, and of course, ghosts. So what secrets will this plantation reveal? Find out next on Unexplained Haunts 3.
There is something here. It's moving. It's moving towards you.
Over there by that china cabinet bookcase or whatever.
What actually happens on a paranormal investigation, from its beginnings to gathering and examining evidence? When we come back, the anatomy of a ghost hunt. A paranormal investigation starts with finding a location, and do we have a dandy, Loyd Hall. Originally scouted as a location for MTV's Fear because of its rich and violent history. Near Alexandria, Louisiana, in a remote part of Rapides Parish, sits a grand home that was almost lost forever, Loyd Hall Plantation. The story of Loyd Hall goes back nearly 200 years to its builder, William Loyd.
He was supposedly one of the famous Lloyds of London, was the black sheep of his family, and they supposedly paid him a fortune to leave England, never to return. And when he left England, they totally disowned him by name. They made him spell his name with one L.
Loyd ended up near Cheneyville, Louisiana, where he established Loyd Hall Plantation with the help of 60 slaves, growing cotton and sugarcane, which is still grown on this very land. But despite a new location, Loyd continued his old ways.
But as he lived here, he was still being the same old mischievous self as he was with his own family.
Loyd managed to anger a band of Choctaw Indians who attacked the house. The home still bears scars from that attack.
The tips of the arrows are still in the dining room door from where the Indians attacked the house.
But the angry Choctaws would soon become the least of Loyd's worries.
But during the Civil War, he was caught up between the Union and Confederate soldiers as a double spy. William was playing them off against each other, going from one camp to the other. And they said when the Union discovered what he was doing, they hung him for it.
Story goes, hung from his own oak trees.
And although the oak trees which now line the drive of Loyd Hall aren't original, it seems William Loyd had a hand in their replacement.
My dad planted these oak trees, and it took him 3 plantings. They all died every single time. He said that he got a glass of, Jack Daniels and went out on the porch and said, "Now, Mr. Loyd, I'm not going to plant these, but one more time. Please let my oak trees grow." And they grew.
But William Loyd isn't the only casualty at Loyd Hall. William Loyd is said to have had a niece, Inez, who was engaged to be married but was left at the altar.
And they said she was so upset when he refused to marry her that she threw herself from the 3rd floor window of this house, committing suicide.
Then there's the story of a Union soldier known by some as Harry Henry, who was caught hiding out in the 3rd floor attic after the Civil War had ended.
And when Harry was discovered by one of the women when they went to the attic to get something, they struggled over the gun that he had. And when the gun went off, Harry was killed.
And legend has it that the family buried the soldier's body under the home to hide what had happened. And although it's not known if a body has ever been discovered under the house, there is evidence to this day of the death of Harry Henry.
And there's bloodstains on the 3rd floor.
Also, there was Sally Boston. Sally was a slave nanny that lived in the house with the family, but died very mysteriously. She would hide the soldiers out and help them get away. And they were thinking maybe Sally was poisoned.
Following the tumultuous period during and following the Civil War, Loyd Hall was eventually bought and sold more than 20 times before the Fitzgerald family bought the property in the 1940s. By then, Loyd Hall was a shell of its former self.
Found chickens and goats and sweet potatoes and hay, everything that one would expect in a barn, which is what this had been used for quite some years.
So the restoration began, and the owners say continues to this day. Loyd Hall was eventually turned into the Fitzgerald family home and is now a top-rated bed and breakfast.
Anyone who tells you that they own an old home or historical home are not quite telling the truth. These homes own us, and we are here only by, courtesy of them.
And by them, some think they're speaking of the spirits who seem fond of letting people know they're still around.
And then we knew that somebody was trying to let us know in those strange ways that they're here.
So why on earth would someone go searching for evidence of ghosts? Find out from someone who makes her living at hunting ghosts when Haunts 3 returns. Some search the world for evidence of ghosts, while others consider their ghosts part of the family. Both agree that working with the dead isn't so bad. Rising out of the blooming cotton and tucked behind sprawling fields of sugarcane, Loyd Hall Plantation is still home to the Fitzgeralds. Melinda Anderson moved here with her sisters when she was just 4 years old.
Our quality of life here is fabulous.
Melinda returned home several years ago to run the property, which is now open to the public.
We do tours and bed and breakfast and daily tours and motor coach tours and special events.
Anderson says she realizes how lucky she was to grow up living in Loyd Hall, even if her playmates weren't all living.
Our oldest daughter came in from school, and I heard she and Melinda talking about the fact of, what had they done that day? What had Harry said? Where had Harry gone? I finally couldn't stand it. I said, "Who is Harry?" They all turned and looked at me like I'd grown a second head and said, "Mama, Harry is our ghost. He lives up on the 3rd floor and plays with us."
We described him and that he was wearing a blue uniform.
As we spoke with the local folks, they said, "Oh yes, there's a young Union soldier. His name is Henry." And some folks do call him Harry, so the girls began calling him Harry Henry.
I never really thought it weird. I mean, it was just, children don't question much unless you're telling them no about something.
And at midnight, when the moon is full, Harry comes back by visiting the upstairs balcony and playing the violin.
Encounters with the spirit world at Loyd Hall Plantation aren't reserved for children. Beulah Davis has worked at the property for more than 30 years. And in that time, she has had more than her share of supernatural experiences.
I would hear footsteps. Doors would open and close. I would hear like people talking in a low whisper, and when I would go and look, and I didn't find anything, I just chalked it up to my imagination for a long time. And I would see somebody standing in the room. Sometimes it would be a woman, sometimes it would be a man. But the strangest experience I've had in all the years I've worked here, I'll never forget that day. From out of the blue, upstairs, my name was called very clear. Just echoed all over the house. Beulah! Couldn't imagine who was calling me upstairs, because at the time everybody was gone for the day. And it just took me a long time to go upstairs to look, but I didn't find anything.
Davis, like many other, attributes her otherworldly encounters to one of the 4 ghosts believed to haunt Loyd Hall Plantation.
I'd rather deal with them than to deal with a human, because at least I know the ghosts won't hurt me. They might frighten me or spook me a little bit, but I came to be very comfortable with them.
But it definitely had a good history that we liked.
Paranormal investigator Chris Stevens discovered Loyd Hall while looking for a location for MTV's reality show Fear.
I like the murderous history of this place. That's always a plus for us.
Although the producers of that program decided on a different location, Loyd Hall and its bloody past intrigued Stevens, who has been ghost hunting for about a decade. And it's the search for answers that drives this investigator.
I want to understand what's going on better. I think there's a scientific explanation that I'm going to eventually be able to prove.
Stevens says her interest in ghosts has been lifelong, growing up in what she describes as a very haunted home. And now she has made a career looking for what some say doesn't even exist. What is a ghost and how do we study them? We go deeper into the anatomy of a ghost hunt when Unexplained Haunts 3 returns. Before beginning a paranormal investigation, research may reveal why a place may be haunted. Gathering proof, however, requires technology, scientific deductions, and an open mind. It's one thing to tell ghost stories or even recount a personal experience with the supernatural. It's another thing to prove the spirit world exists. Chris Stevens, a professional paranormal investigator, looks the world over for evidence of ghosts, including our investigation at Loyd Hall. And they say seeing is believing, so Stevens, along with unexplained investigators, start by taking digital pictures, lots of them.
I took about 600 photos, digital photos of this place.
The investigation started inside, but quickly moved out into the night.
chasing it. Whoever it is like, leave me alone.
Stevens thinks she's spotted a ghost, which is apparently camera shy, trying to evade detection. But some orbs are clearly present in these pictures.
Orbs are controversial. People get this phenomenon, we call them orbs, they're round images in photographs. And you know, it could be anything. It can be moisture, it can be that the camera's picking up, it can be dust, it can be flares off of a reflection from the flash. However, in a small percentage of cases, we get orbs that we cannot explain. And if you investigate consistently, you will see in haunted places, you will get orbs in photographs and in video. And it's like round balls of some type of energy that we can't explain yet, that the ghost seems to be able to manifest as the most easily.
As the night and our investigation goes on, the orbs go from few and far between to numerous, sometimes more than we can count. Much of the orb activity was concentrated on the second floor. Check out this series of pictures taken on the upstairs balcony, the same spot where some people have claimed to hear a ghostly violin play. Just inside, we run into one of the most intriguing phenomena any of us has ever encountered, the sweet smell of perfume. Not uncommon, except there was no explanation for its presence
Kind of creepy.
or the fact that the scent moved around.
Is it back? Oh, yeah. What is that? It's like a... I've smelt that before. I
too, but I can't place it.
It's like a Chloe or something like that?
Let me tell these guys that I'm stopping
There's something very floral in here. I smell powdery. It smells...
When it was real strong, it kept moving.
Yeah, because it's not where...
When we were in here before, it was like a...
Stand right here.
Ooh, like Chloe perfume or...
Yeah. Come walk right through here.
Yeah, that's right.
Now it's...
That was one of the cooler things that happened here. I have smelled, you know, ghost scents before at other places, but never as strong as we did here, and we were able to actually track it, follow it from room to room, which was also really neat, and back that up with photographs of phenomenon. It's the strongest I've ever experienced. I've had like in that area, okay. Yeah, I'm getting it also.
Aroma at times, like loud perfume, or smell, like I said, of food, different smells.
It was a very strong, very sweet floral smell. I'm not sure what flower or perfume it was, but it was really neat.
The visual evidence linked to the strong smell of perfume is that of orbs. Big clusters of orbs all in one room.
It's unusual to have clusters of orbs like that, clouds of orbs inside a building. I've gotten that in cemeteries and stuff like that, but I've usually, when I investigate a structure, I'll get one or two solitary orbs.
Besides orbs, there are other phenomena professional ghost hunters like Stevens look for to determine if a location is haunted.
Ectoplasm. Ghost hunters, paranormal investigators use ectoplasm to refer to the ghost mist. Then there's vortices, which seem to be like energy tornadoes almost. I'm not sure where that fits in. Those seem to be more associated with poltergeist hauntings or hauntings involving small children. Most ghosts don't seem to be able to manifest as an apparition.
No apparitions here, but our investigation is still young. We continued on the third floor near the spot where soldier Harry Henry allegedly died.
I'm going to close your door.
Producer Rick Garner and photographer Rob Ruffin are attempting to close an entrance to one of the eaves of the house, with little success. We headed back past a second entrance to the eave of the house, one which I had personally closed and locked just moments before. Yeah, I latched this one earlier.
Okay. Well, it was just unlatched. I just latched it back.
No, it didn't.
I just latched it back. It was unlatched.
I swear it's when I came up here.
I'm just letting you know.
And I latched it.
I just latched it because I had to push it with my knee to latch it.
And it's tight too. I can't unlatch it.
You have to push it with your knee to unlatch it.
I just latched this, and it went smoothly.
Well,
now I can't No, I walked up here and it shut. It slid over, and then I pulled it up, and I thought it was odd that the latch went up. We have no logical explanation of why this door, closed and locked just minutes before, was sitting wide open. But this isn't the first time one of these doors has opened on its own.
And he and I went up to the 3rd floor, and we were standing there talking. I was telling him the ghost story, and just out of the blue, just like you would take your hand, the latch just came open, just like you would take your hand and slide it open, and the door flung open in front of both of us.
To wrap up our night of ghost hunting, we set up several cameras to record what happens inside Loyd Hall Plantation after we go to sleep.
And if you're the type of person to easily scare, you would not stay in this house.
A house this old is bound to creak a little, but on this 2nd floor camera, placed just outside the room with the perfume smell and the orb clusters, we hear an odd thumping noise. Not once, but several times. It's the same thumping noise our equipment has recorded at numerous haunted locations.
You can hear the footsteps, the doors open and close, and you walk in some of the rooms and you can feel the presence almost like chill come on and goosebumps break out.
This camera, which is set on autofocus, for no apparent reason, tries to refocus, although nothing that we can see has moved in the shot. Watch again. Proof of a ghost in this hallway? Probably not, but added with all of our other encounters in Loyd Hall, it's definitely intriguing. So is Loyd Hall really haunted? Final thoughts from our paranormal investigator when Unexplained Haunts 3 returns. Clusters of orbs. The sweet smell of perfume that wasn't really there. And a closed and locked door that wasn't closed or locked. Any of this phenomena by itself isn't terribly compelling. Put it all together and a convincing case can be made that Loyd Hall Plantation is truly haunted. Paranormal investigator Chris Stevens likes what she saw.
Definitely proved to me that this place is haunted. I know they're real. I'm no longer trying to prove to other people that they're real, but I want to understand what's going on better.
The history of Loyd Hall is a good place to start. William Lloyd was said to have been hung from one of his own oak trees for being a double agent, while his niece Inez supposedly leapt to her death after being jilted by her fiancé. And soldier Harry Henry, possibly killed by a bullet from his own gun after being discovered hiding on the 3rd floor. And finally, the slave nanny, Sally Boston, who died mysteriously, some say by poison. But a violent end to one's life isn't a guarantee for a ghostly afterlife.
I don't think violence is necessarily part of the equation for ghosts. Ghosts seem to be dysfunctional personalities, people that are obsessed with something or at the mental state when they died that they were unable to accept the fact that they were dying, or there's a reason why they're still here. Here, I'm not sure why the ghost is still hanging around.
We knew that somebody was trying to let us know in those strange ways that they're here.
They are most appreciative of the good care that we've given their home, and so they've taken good care of us.
I definitely want to come back and set some equipment up in that room and some motion sensing equipment and see what else I can get.
And it never has been scary to us, ever.
It's definitely a good start, definitely. I'm looking forward to furthering my investigation here.
I definitely believe.
The anatomy of a ghost hunt from beginning to end. Location, backstory, players, investigation, and most importantly, evidence analysis and conclusions. We've shown you that looking for paranormal activity is more than just going inside an old building. It takes patience, experience, and the willingness to believe that when you're alone, you may not always be by yourself. In Search of the Unexplained, I'm Jeff Wrenn.